Hey everyone, Jer Inguishato, CBRE.
And Dylan playing also with CB. Good to be with everyone.
Yeah, we're excited to share with you our most recent quarterly numbers. We thought we'd provide a quick video update with some of the highlights, but we'd love to follow back with you on any questions, details you want to check in with. High level, we're covering R&D Office, Silicon Valley, Q2 numbers. So let's dive into them. The overwhelming takeaway when we looked at the analysis was, man, big step up in demand. People are coming back to the office, occupancy, um, venture is flowing, and that's really bolstering demand. So we're measuring tenants in the market. The slide we're sharing with you shows some historical context over the last 10 years. X-axis years, y-axis square feet. You can see pre-COVID, post-COVID. Pre-COVID average is a little over 9 million square feet of demand. And you can see from the low in 2023 to where we are right now, demand has steadily risen. In the last quarter, it's gone from a little over 6 million square feet to nearly 10 million square feet. And that arcing red line, going up in the right is a welcome sign, and we think we need to keep our eye on that inflection point. Next slide we wanted to share just to set the record: vacancy, absorption, and vacancy. And so we're taking a quick snapshot on the left of office. The solid line represents absorption above or below the line, positive or negative. And then the solid green line represents vacancy. Vacancies have gone down a little over 100 basis points quarter over quarter from 18 to 17%. We've also seen three positive quarters in a row of net absorption in the R&D arena. Similar story. Although this past quarter we shed and we're showing about 300,000 square feet of negative net absorption, primarily due to a handful of corporate large end users that were letting leases expire and they weren't going to reoccupy, renew. And those hit the numbers and had a slight impact. But we don't want to lose sight of the two positive quarters prior. And the vacancies are hovering around 12% for R&D, kind of a flat number. But some things to keep in mind as it relates to that demand. We saw both R&D and office over 2 million square feet of gross absorption, so high velocity of transactions. And then also a footnote with the office arena, roughly 67% of the deals done were in Class A facilities. I'll pass the floor to Dylan. He can talk through some of the specific notable large transactions.
Yeah, thanks, Jer. What we have in front of you now is the top office and R&D deals of the quarter for Q2 2025. And I think the bright light, especially in the office market, is we had 5 deals over 100,000 square feet that were all new leases, and they were actually expansions for all these end users. And we haven't had that in quite a few years. We had Walmart doing a large deal. They had just, not too long ago, did another very large deal. So they're really growing. Zscaler, Snap, Amazon, and Stanford round out the top 5. And it's good to see the brand names back in the market doing business and growing. So just another positive sign for the office market. And then on the R&D side, we had quite a bit of renewal activity. 4 out of the 5 top deals were renewals. And these buildings that they renewed in, Quanta and Fujifilm, these are unique infrastructure type of buildings that are extremely crucial to these companies' businesses. So they're, doubling down and locking in, longer terms for those facilities, which is great. And then we did have one new lease in 65,000 square feet, the 4th one down, with Collaborative Robotics, which is a newer VC funded company. And I'm going to touch on that in a couple slides here, but did want to just stick in the vein of venture capital funding. It's another leading indicator that we track very closely here at CBRE, because it really is, translates to real estate demand. And in 2024, the Bay Area captured half of all of the United States VC funding. $88 billion of capital poured into new companies in the Bay Area, which is a staggering amount when you think about, such a small geographic region, the country taking in that much capital. It's amazing, really. And then, sure enough, in the first quarter of 25, we saw 4 out of the 5 largest new leases were from companies that had just raised funds the past year. So you're seeing those new companies come into the market and scale after locking in that funding. And it's I believe it's a good sign why you can believe in Silicon Valley long term, is because you've always have that next wave of companies on the horizon. And then continuing in that vein, in the second quarter of 25, we saw that trend continue. And what you have in front of you, if you're not familiar, is a aerial shot of Silicon Valley in Santa Clara, highlighting one large end user's corporate headquarters. And that shot is facing north up into, you can see the Bay and San Jose and Milpitas. But when you really shine the magnifying glass on this aerial, there's a company in the bottom right-hand corner, which I've highlighted. This is Collaborative Robotics. They were in a 13,000 square foot old R&D facility. And sure enough, they locked in that $100 million of funding that I had mentioned earlier. And they moved up the street to the top left-hand corner of the page to Patrick Henry Drive, where they leased a 65,000 square foot, renovated R&D facility that they're going to be able to scale their business in. So, we see this case study happening over and over again. And here's just another example of, a new company coming into the market and scaling. And it's a great sign for the market, and expect to continue seeing that activity take place. I'll pass it over to Jerry to touch on a couple of the notable sales that we saw this past quarter.
Yeah, so the demand is continuing to impact and show itself on the capital markets and the sales activity. We've seen really 2 trends emerge. One is investors and end users taking advantage of a reset in capital market values as sellers are coming to grips with where sales values are in today's market. Secondly, we're seeing large end users with significant access to capital through the equity markets acquire strategic real estate that have proximity to their headquarters. Specifically, I'll reference the first example under the office category of deals, the VTA transaction. That is a great example of really a group going to market and identifying an opportunity that was priced to move well below replacement costs. And it really was an accretive from an operating expense perspective and a growth perspective. It was an incredible opportunity for the VTA where they made a really wise decision to acquire a high-rise office building in downtown San Jose and really betting on the long-term viability of that market. There were many of those examples, but we also want to highlight 2 additional transactions. And the first one is with a large corporate end user in Santa Clara. Their campus that they own and they built is highlighted in the green. And then going clockwise, the blue and the orange represented existing R&D buildings that they had leased, and they went and acquired them. They had the capital, the wherewithal to do it, and it just made good sense for them to control operating expenses. They went and acquired the assets. And then the yellow highlight in the lower portion of the aerial represents opportunity where they were able to acquire an industrial site, multi-tenant, with just immediate proximity to the headquarters. And it's been acquired for future growth, land bank. and is just strategic. We think that they weren't, the end user wasn't clear on when and if the property would come for sale again. And so they just, acted proactively and acquired the asset. The second example is another large end user in the market, similar set of circumstances. You can see the project on the left is in Sunnyvale, high quality R&D product that they had been leasing, and they made the decision to acquire those assets as they fit within their Sunnyvale portfolio. And then a second campus in proximity to their Cupertino headquarters. Again, these buildings had been leased for years by this group, and it became an opportunity to acquire and control long-term. So in closing, we look forward to discussing the market with you. Love to hear about your commercial real estate, any opportunities, challenges that you find with your portfolio, your next real estate move. We're here for you. We look forward to hearing from you. We hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.